I'm Kristen, and you're listening to Podcast and Amplify, a podcast for women entrepreneurs who want to amplify their voice and brand through podcasting and grow a wildly successful business. I'm the executive producer and host of 2 shows and an entrepreneur, and I love helping women grow their visibility, mindset, and business to the next level. Each week, I share tips on how to launch and leverage your podcast, and I'm bringing on the very best business leaders to give you advice on how to build your business empire. Let's amplify your voice and business. Hey there, welcome back to the show. So this episode is all about one of my favorite topics, which is how to help your listeners and your community feel seen. And I love this topic because it's something that's really important to me as a podcaster, as a business owner. A lot of what I talk about and what drives my business is building community. And one of the best ways to do that is by helping your community to feel truly seen. Feeling seen is really what all of us want, right? When someone says, I see you, and they truly do, that's one of the best gifts. And it's such a powerful way to connect with others, to empower others. And it's really a big reason why I do what I do. I want others to see themselves as full and awesome and capable and confident as they truly are and as they can be in the world. So this episode is all about how to help your audience feel seen so that you can build trust, you can build community, and also so that you can work with them. So much of who we work with and why people decide to work with us is because they trust us, and that is an important part of our business. We want our listeners to feel like we get them, like we see them for who they are and we understand them. So if you're an entrepreneur and you started a podcast to help build your brand and grow your business, helping your listeners feel like you get them, like she's speaking directly to me, and also that you can provide solutions to their problems really should be your highest priority, because we buy from brands that we trust. And we trust people who we feel connected to. And one of the best ways to help people feel connected and to trust us is by helping people feel seen and understood. It's also by creating a sense of belonging. And to really dial things up, it's by showing people what's possible for them. So I'm going to be sharing 3 ways that you can help your listeners feel seen. At the end of the day, that's all we really want, right? That's all anyone wants, is to feel seen for who they are and to feel accepted and to feel like they belong. Let's start with number 1. A great way to do that is to share your values, because when you share your values and what's important to you, that's a way to create a sense of belonging in your space. People who are listening are able to say, oh, she shares the same values that I do. I belong here. Also think about how passionate you get when you're talking about your mission and your values. That's when you get really lit up and you become this magnet for the right people. That's when people really lean in and they want to listen to more of what you have to say. And that's really what you want to get your listeners to do, is to tune in week after week and to also share your episodes with their friends. And they're more likely to do that when they feel like, oh, this place is a place that I belong. And I know my community is going to feel the same when they tune in. So I'm going to recommend this to them. So our values should be driving our businesses. It should be driving our podcast. We should have real clarity around that. And a great way to think about that is, what are you a stand for or against? So my listeners know that I am a stand for more diverse voices in the entrepreneurship space, more diverse voices in podcasting. And I live out that value by the guests that I bring on my show, the clients that I work with. And what I must stand against is bro marketing tactics for growing your podcast. So anything that's all about the quantity of downloads, listeners, and doesn't prioritize the quality of your listeners, who you're inviting into your community with your podcast. And those two values are things that I'm known for, and that invites the right people in. It helps other people who feel the same way feel seen and understood. Okay, so number two, you can really help others feel seen by sharing your messy middle. It's really through sharing our human experience of making mistakes, picking yourself back up, and then trying again that people can identify with us. That's the kind of content that resonates with listeners. It helps them feel like they're not alone. And think about how people are so much more willing to share when you share first. So if you can be just that little bit vulnerable and share the failures and the growth and the learnings that come from that, that's going to help other people feel like they get me because I've gone through that similar situation. I've had to learn that. So a really great way to tap into our growth and our learnings is through self-reflection. I do this at the end of every month. I ask myself several questions, and you can get these questions too by signing up for my newsletter. I created Captivate and Convert, and you get journal prompts at the end of every month that will help you reflect on what you learned from the last month so that you can create genuine, relatable content that helps your listeners feel seen. So one of the questions that I ask is, what's a challenge you overcame and what did it teach you? This is really about how are you wiser today than you were, say, a month ago or a year ago? It's helping you to look at what can I learn from this instead of why is this happening to me? And then another question I love to journal about is, what's a belief that you let go of? Because we all have beliefs that don't serve us. And when you can let go of a belief, that's huge because it's a belief. And usually those are so ingrained, and it takes a lot of work to sort of dismantle those beliefs and to think something different about yourself. So that's a big moment. Anytime that you can reflect on that is really a great thing to share because we all have limiting beliefs. We all have things that we need to let go. For example, I used to think that I could never be a public speaker. It wasn't for me. It's not something I would ever be good at. And back in August, I let that belief go because I was on a national stage speaking. And after the speaking event, I really felt like, oh, there's nothing that I can't do because I had faced this belief. I had proven that belief wrong. And then I felt like I could go and accomplish anything really. And sharing moments like that is important because it's very human to think that, we're not good enough or that something isn't for us. And then sharing my journey around how I overcame that helps other people feel like, oh, I can do that too. It shows them the possibilities of what they can accomplish. And that's a really great way to build connection. So number 3, tell your meaningful story. So storytelling is not about the storyteller. It's about connection. And I want you to think about the times that maybe you've been listening to a podcast, maybe it's this one or someone else's, and you've heard someone's story and it deeply resonated with you. And you were like, oh, that person gets me, or I have something in common with that person because they've been in my exact same shoes or they've experienced something very similar that I have. So those stories are really powerful, powerful way to help your listeners feel seen. And I want to share with you a few ways to enhance your storytelling so that you're telling really meaningful stories that connect. So you want to focus on stories that share moments in your life that changed you in some way. So you want to share those moments of vulnerability, those moments of transformation. A way to help you tap into those meaningful stories is sit down and write about a time that you had to follow your intuition or your heart. Those are powerful stories because anytime that we decide to listen to our inner wisdom is a powerful moment. And we've all had that moment where we've maybe said no to our intuition and it's not turned out very well because our intuition never lies. And then, we have those times where we leaned into our intuition and it was the exact right thing. So that's a great story to tell. Also, you can write about a moment in your life that shifted you in some way. So maybe that was leaving your corporate job to start your entrepreneurial path, or maybe that was traveling somewhere that really changed you, changed your perspective about the world, changed your perspective about how you fit in the world. Anything that is a moment of transformation is a meaningful story to share that's going to bring out those personal stories infused with those universal challenges and struggles and then breakthroughs. And your listeners will be able to hear your story and see themselves and connect with you. So we talked about sharing your values, sharing your messy middle, your growth, and telling meaningful stories. These are all really great ways to help your listeners feel connected to you, to build trust, to feel seen. And that's so important when you're trying to grow an aligned community, a kick-ass community that you absolutely love and that you want to collaborate with or work with or sell your services to so that you can support them in the way that only you can. So I hope this episode has been helpful in helping you see the importance of helping your listeners feel seen. And if you want more support, I have several really valuable free resources on my website at podcastandamplify.com/resources. And if you'd like to talk to me about how we can work together, how I can support you, I would absolutely love to do that. You can book a connection call by going to podcastandamplify.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at podcastandamplify. I look forward to connecting with you. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of Podcast and Amplify. If you love the show, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And the best way to support this show is by sharing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. For those of you who leave a review, you'll get the chance to win a 30-minute strategy session or a mini audit of your existing podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember, your voice and what you have to offer is needed in the world. Until next week, take care.